Do you want to know how the DnB duo Pola and Bryson make the ethereal and captivating drum and bass bangers? I'm 5X and welcome to another episode of How to DnB with Inverse Audio. We're diving deep into the mesmerizing world of production by exploring the signature style of one of the most talented duos in the scene. As always, hit the subscribe button to support the channel and turn on those notifications so that you never miss a video. Like the video and comment what you want to see next, and without any further ado, let's get right into the video. Pola and Bryson are often praised for having some of the crispiest drums in the drum and bass universe. These guys truly craft sonic masterpieces. The drum samples are snappy, punchy, and meticulously honed to perfection. And that's not all, the groove is simply impeccable. The way they utilize sidechain is nothing short of wizardry, giving the tracks a pulsating energy that's second to none. Starting off with the drums, as always, I'll go through each sample separately and we'll go through it together. So first we've got the kick, which I've separated into three. That's what it sounds like together, which consists of a low kick, a mid kick, and the high kick. With these three samples, I found frequencies I like in each of them to combine them to create a fully unique kick that punches through the mix and gives us a solid foundation. For processing, I've sent these three into a kick bus, which has a distortion, an EQ, an OTT, a multi-band compressor, and a transient shaper. And on the individual channels, I've just placed EQs as so. Now I've done the same thing for the snares, but this time I've got 4 layers. I've got the main body, I've got the tail, I've got the ghost snare, and the wide snare. I'll go through the processing on these ones. So on the main one, I just have an EQ, same in all the other ones, as you can see. And on the snare bus, I have another saturation, so decapitator. I have an EQ, just cleaning up some of the frequencies, and an OTT, just doing a light bit of multi-band compression. So those two laid together sound like... If you're trying to recreate drums like Pola and Bryson, really take your time. Make sure all the samples fit together perfectly and don't be afraid of doing a lot of post-processing. The hi-hats are a bit simpler. I've got one every beat, one every second beat. I've got 2 syncopated ghost hi-hats, and I've got 2 top loops. A reverbed out one, and just a nice funky one. On top of that, I've added a crash. And together, those drums sound like... I've also added in quite a few drum fills. This is the first one. And this is the second one. When it comes to their bass lines, Pola and Bryson veer away from the heavy-hitting basses often found in jump-up drum and bass. Instead, they draw inspiration from the liquid side of the genre. The basses often feature a low-pass filter, which strips away some of the harsh frequencies and lays the foundation for the lush pads and atmospheric layers that seamlessly weave into the tracks. The masters of automation artfully adjusting the low-pass frequencies to introduce tantalizing highs at just the right moments. To add that extra bit of character, they sprinkle in analog saturation and gentle distortion, giving their bass lines an irresistible edge. So I'll start off with the main bass line I've made for this track. So here is the bass patch. I've gone for 2 basic MCB waves. These are just essentially sawtooth waves with a little extra harmonic on top. And what I've done here, you might be thinking these look different, because basically what I've done is I've come into here and I've removed the bottom harmonic. When we're using a respace like this and we want the bottom harmonic to shine through, because these are tuned to different fines, we'll get phasing in the low end. Now, to eliminate that, you can just remove the bottom harmonic from both of them by pressing this edit button here. and reintroduce it as the sub, as the wave, direct out. So this wave is unaffected and comes through mono. That's very important because you don't want your lowest frequency to be phasing. It's just going to cause weird issues. On the effects, I've just got a slight distortion, compression, and an EQ ducking at around 210 Hertz. To get that automation, as you heard earlier, I've just mapped macro 1 to the cutoff. And I've also slapped a bit of reverb on there, as you can hear. Some vintage verb. Then the next bass patch that I've added into here is essentially the same thing, but I'll show you how it works. So it switches to this bass here, and it's a technique I've heard them use before. So with this one, it's just a sawtooth wave with a unison set to 16 and the high set, and the filter set to high 24. And I've mapped the cutoff to the envelope, so whenever the bass is playing, the cutoff goes up. And I've got a distortion, a compression, a lot of reverb, and a filter as well that's opening up, doing the same thing. And putting these at the end of every 8 bars can give it a nice sound. The only other bass that I have in here is an intro Reese, which is pretty much similar to this, but it's just less aggressive. As you can see, it's literally just a sawtooth with a cutoff on it, not doing anything at all. I've also slapped a bit of reverb on there, but as I said, you want the bass lines to be simple, not too aggressive. It's all in the analog distortions. To quickly cover some post-processing, on the main Reese bass, I have an Isotope Trash 2 set to the Dusty Bucket preset with the wet set to about 33%, which gives it a nice analog crunch. You don't want to overdo it with a distortion. And I'm also sending it to a reverb bus, which is again just a Valhalla room. Pola and Bryson have a knack for crafting soundscapes that transport listeners to otherworldly realms. Their extensive use of long pads and ethereal ambiances creates an immersive experience that's truly enchanting. With a unique less is more approach, their melodies unfold leisurely, avoiding rush and allowing each other to breathe. The infusion of real-world sounds like birdsong, wind, or gentle rain combined with the warmth of vinyl crackle adds an organic and lifelike feel quality to their tracks. The analog gear expertise shines through in their pads and leads, often utilizing LFOs to produce captivating sonic artifacts that dance and evolve. Now, the way I started this track off originally was with this piano. It's quite simple, to be honest. All it's doing is following a 1, 7, 6 chord progression, and that sounds like this. So going down in scale and then back up slightly, it just gives it a very minor and sad sounding effect. So with that piano, I've just put a lot of reverb onto it. On top of that, I've layered this atmosphere. Which is just an arcade patch. On top of that, I've layered another atmosphere. This one's an atmosphere from Pigments, and I've done quite a lot of post-processing here, as you can see. I've slapped on a portal with the preset of Scattered Thought. I've added a Valhalla Supermassive, which is a free plugin. It's basically an echo and reverb in one. I've added another reverb, just some EQ to take out the lows. A wider, that's another free plugin to make it more wide in the stereo field. And just another EQ boost and some of them high frequencies that I liked. And I've got this ambient pluck in here as well. Now this one, as you can see, is panning left to right. And I've done that using this pan man here. And I've added a reverb onto it as well. And this one is also a patch from Pigments, but you could probably recreate this yourself quite easily. It's just essentially a sine wave with a bit of distortion on there. And the only lead that I have in here is this one. Which is following the bass notes as the first note, and then I've got these two little accent notes. Now, remember what I said earlier, with their melodies, less is more, giving them space to breathe is essential. You're not in a rush with these tracks, you really just want to give space for everything. And then next on top of that, I've layered in some a rain sample. You could also add things like vinyl crackle, bird sounds, wind, stuff like that, and that will really bring it to life. And then the last thing that I've done here in this bridge section is I've added in this rolling pluck. I've heard them using a similar sort of sound in Phone Line, and the way I've created this is by using LFO2. I've set it to an envelope and 4 bar, and then I've dragged LFO2 to the rate of LFO1 so that you can hear it getting slower, but the reason why it's getting slower is because this is going down. So I could do it really fast. And that just gives it a ramping down effect. It's really cool and easy to create. Pola Bryson's mastery extends even to the art of sound effects. You won't find an abundance of risers and down risers here. They wield these tools with precision, using them to accentuate crucial moments in their tracks. It's a testament to their restraint and deep understanding of how to harness subtle effects to amplify emotional impact of their compositions. And I've followed exactly just that here. I've got 2 impacts only in this track, with a few crashes. I guess you could consider those as effects as well. And the first one is in the intro when the song starts, and then the other one is where I've got a major change in the track. On top of that, I've got this crash here. But a lot of my transitions are marked with this drum fill here. So sometimes less is more. Since I've got such an ambient track and there's not a whole lot going on, the changes are gradual. I've not thrown too many effects. I've not used any rises before the drop either, because that would just be too much. With all those effects, this is what the intro sounds like. Collaboration with skilled vocalists is a cornerstone of Pola Bryson's sound. By infusing the lyrics with a profound, deeper meaning and applying generous reverb and delay, they create vocal textures that are as ambient as they are prominent. These vocals seamlessly blend into the tracks, weaving a narrative that's as emotionally resonant as the music itself. Now, since I don't know too many skilled vocalists that would be available to do a tutorial on YouTube, I've gone for the next best thing, and that's splice. So I've just found one vocal. I feel like I've pretty much exhausted most of the actual singing style vocals on splice. So what I've found here is this really long ambient pad vocals thing. Sounds a bit like this. But if you are going to use actual vocals, make sure you add a lot of reverb and delay to them. Make sure they're nice and spaced out and not too busy. And if you can find something, or if you're writing or singing, make sure it's got a lot of meaning behind it. Pola and Bryson's tracks have a lot of meaning behind them, so the vocals should reflect that. On this second drop after this breakdown, I've added an LFO tool onto this vocal, which has got transgate on it, makes it sound like this. And the only other effect I've got on here is a supermassive. The rest is just, well, just an EQ taking out the lows, but that's all the processing I've done on the vocals. But yeah, there you have it, how to make drum and bass like Pola and Bryson. I do apologize, this has been a bit of a shorter tutorial today. If you didn't know, I was away recently and I just want to get this tutorial to you guys as late as it is. But yeah, if you want some of the drum sounds used in this video, make sure you go to our website, inverseaudio.co.uk, and check out Inverse Audio Presents Drum and Bass Volume 1. Use code 10OFF for another 10% off. We also do one-to-one tuition if anyone's interested in that. Join our Discord. We've just started up a Minecraft server, and people always give each other feedback in there. It's a very good community. Leave a comment on what you want to see next, as always, and I'll play the full track now. But yeah, peace from me.